and why those scores are low. So we can see that people traveling in personal with a blue or platinum status, they have this many delays, their age is over 62. This is going to be the profile of the customer that has the lowest satisfaction. And this is actually the biggest insight we discovered today, because when I bring this to Sean later on, I'm going to tell him that I figured out exactly which customers we need to target to improve our scores. So we have all those profiles here. On the other side, we can also look at which profiles of customers give us the most satisfaction. So we can see people traveling in business travel, they're males between age 40 to 49, they have more than one loyalty card. This is going to be the profile of customer that has the most satisfaction with our service. If I go over to the next tab on the left, we can get a great high-level overview of all those different variables that went into explaining that satisfaction score. And the text size is going to be an indicator of its significance. This is great. I can share this with somebody immediately. We can send it out in an email. We can download it as an image, PDF, PowerPoint, post it directly to social media, or generate a private link for viewing. Now this share button is not just for this chart. It's available throughout the tool, so whatever you're looking at, any type of chart, you'll be able to share with these same options you see here. Going back to the home page very quickly, now that we finished our quick data exploration and our quick predictive modeling, now we'll get into our visualization and dashboard creation. So I'll go back to my data set here. I'll go to Assemble. Again, we'll just give it a quick name. It can be anything, and we'll select a layout. This is where we can make different infographics, slideshows, a lot of different options here. For now, we'll just stick with a single layout. And now previously, before, where I was collecting all of those charts, now I can open up that collection and I can begin to make my dashboard very easily. So I'll just drag and drop the spots that I want them. I'll put this one down here, this one over here. And now it looks like we have some space to fill as well. So in Assemble, we can also make charts on the fly. So what I'll do is I'll access the variables in my data set over here. And let's go ahead, let's make another chart. Let's do satisfaction and destination state. We'll throw that in here. Again, geospatial data automatically recognized and we get maps. We'll go ahead and make one more chart. Let's do satisfaction and type of travel. I'm just control clicking both of these together. So we're overlaying these variables on top of each other very easily. And since we already have a bar chart down here, I can quickly change this to something a little more unique. We have a ton of different chart types here. We'll go ahead and choose a radial. This radial really does a good job explaining the deficiency that personal travel has in relation to the other types of travel. So this is a good chart type for that. And then I'll just simply rearrange these so they're easier to read. And just like that, within a few minutes, we have our interactive dashboard created. If you want to see how the interactivity works, I can simply just go over here to this radial. So for example, I'll just zoom out so it's easier to see. If I click on personal travel here, now all of my charts and maps will update based on just personal travel data. So if I click back out, it goes back to normal. Same thing with mileage tickets. Now everything updates based on that. So these charts are all totally interactive. Wherever this interactivity makes sense, the data exists, interactivity is immediately available. So for example, if we take this map and I click on California, now all of my data updates based on California data. Same thing with Texas, etc. You can play around with this later on as well. What I can also do is I can pull up my data set on the bottom here. And let's take my age column. What I'll do is I'll just drag and drop this, throw it on top of the map. And now age is also overlaid on top of each state alongside satisfaction. So this is great because we can easily play around with different variables, different interactivity here. For example, again, I can take the gender column. I'll just drag it to the side here, pull this down. And now if I click on males, now all of my data is updated based on male data. So later on, when you guys are experimenting with this tool, you'll definitely want to check out this interactivity, play around with different variables, or different views you can come up with here as well. So that was a very quick demonstration on Watson Analytics. I will now open it up for a quick Q&A before we get onto the workshop component later on. Yep.
Can you show some data lineage functions or features?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Lineage, data lineage, showing the origin of the data coming from where we pick from.
Yeah, so this data was this spreadsheet that I just added to the tool. So we just took this spreadsheet and we uploaded it into Watson Analytics. Everything we did was based on this spreadsheet here.
I mean, from your chart, you
Yeah.
know which area that function is picking from, so that you know your data is correctly lineated to the results.
So for that question, if you want to come see me later on during the workshop component, we'll figure that out. Yeah. Yep.
You try to answer who are the top 10 people who use the airline most frequently.
Yeah, so you want to play around with the natural language. You want to ask questions like, you'll want to compare, how does the airline name compare by count? And that will give you all the different counts for those airline variables. That's very easy to do. Yep.
So when you export the data to the tool, how do you put the data confidential, prevent the personal information, keep the confidential?
Yeah, so number one, the data gets automatically encrypted before it gets moved to the IBM cloud. So that happens during the data upload. And number two, it gets moved to a secure location on the IBM cloud. All the data stays domestic. Our main servers are here in Markham with our backups in Montreal. So no data leaves the country as well.
But there's any criteria to decide which information have to keep confidential and encrypted.
So that's going to be up to you as a user. You're going to put in the data, so it's up to you what you feel comfortable putting in. So you may not want to put in personal information. You might want to take away those columns before you upload the data. So that's something that you deal with on your end to see what you're comfortable putting up in the cloud.
So when you upload the data, you have to keep the personal information out of the spreadsheet.
That's up to you. You can leave it in there. It'll be totally fine. Yep.
If you're a power user, can you control how the predictions happen, which model they're going to use?
Yeah. So as of today, we're going to automatically pick that algorithm for you. So we're going to do our best to pick the best algorithm for the type of question we're asking. But what's coming at the end of April and beginning of May is we're going to give you the top 5 scenarios. So instead of just choosing one algorithm for you, we're going to choose 5 different ones that worked very well with this data set. And you can pick and choose and explore those 5 different scenarios individually as well to see what suits you better.
You use your own.
You can't use your own. For that, that's going to be a little more advanced, and you'll want to use SPSS for something like that. Yep.
Watson knows why the reason it's satisfied. What's the reason it's not satisfied?
So in that case, we have I'll open up these results again. So the reason these customers aren't satisfied is, again, like we showed, they're having a certain amount of delays, their age is over a certain amount, they have a certain status, or they're doing certain things at the airport. These are all variables that come together to create those low scores, and that's the explanation that I'll just pull up here again to show you very quickly. So why are people unsatisfied with the service? It's because as people that are over 62, they have more than 19 minutes, less than 19 minutes departure delay, etc. So these are all the variables that come together to explain the outcomes.
I mean, satisfaction is two ways. It's like one is the service, one is the expectation.
Yeah.
I mean, is a platinum card holders maybe have a high expectations. So I don't know if that is meeting mine.
Yeah. So for our satisfaction, I'll go back to the data set here. So we only have, for satisfaction, 1 to 5 scale. So this is a multiple choice survey that people filled out, and they filled out between 1 to 5, and those are the levels we're associating with satisfaction score. So it's not as subjective as you think it is, it's just straight up data that we're looking at.
Yeah, you talk about this one is that used is Watson's insight. And I want to know that this has to be a mind that behind that backend, professional in backend. But every business is different. How do you guarantee that that's the professional that's backend?
So that's going to, again, be a data quality issue on your end. So if you have high quality data, you trust your data source, you put it in the tool, we're only using the same data you give us. So it's not going to be anything new we're adding. Whatever you give us is what we do the analysis on. So whatever your satisfaction columns may contain, that's what our analysis will be based on.
Okay, so that means that's not involve any that analysis
Yeah, so I'll go back here, I'll show you, for example, so for this question that we asked for satisfaction, Watson Analytics determined that a chain regression was the best algorithm to use. So based on this, based on all these stat details, which you can also check out later on, these are all the reasons based on the result that we gave you. And again, if you want to take a closer look, you can follow the decision tree along and really get step by step to find out how we reach those levels. And then you can determine if this is accurate or not, depending on your situation.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
most important is that the survey algorithm, survey approach, is that right? The survey design.
Well, it's not the design, it's more that our data needs to be structured in this sense. So we want columns, we want data to be longer as opposed to wider, and structured data overall. Yeah. Yeah.
Is this an LPM problem, or is it built from scratch?
This is built from scratch. We treat it as a startup at IBM. It's totally different. Yeah.
Once you import the data into analytics, do you guys have a way to, I guess, distribute the data? I guess, like, in my mind, I'm thinking smart, and then, like, once I import it, I can use some more, like, advanced functionalities to, like, parse the data, or is that just have to do with that?
So you want to do all that work before you put it in Watson Analytics. So you want to put your finished product into Watson Analytics and then do all your analysis based on that. So whatever work you plan on doing beforehand, that's going to be separate. Yeah.
What file format do you only they
CSV files, Excel files. We can also connect to multiple cloud databases itself. I'll just pull it up here. So these are all the current cloud connectors that we have. So we can directly connect to these data sources online. You just type in your username and your password. You'll see the entire schema of your database. And then you can pick and choose which tables you want to pull into Watson Analytics.
I found where I cannot download the data. I upload it to
No, you won't be able to take it back out. Yep. SPSS. Yep. Yeah. Question?
Is it possible for us to customize the algorithm? For example, you apparently you did a lot of regressions or correlation things in your flow, right? But I want to do something based on what you have done, maybe adding some more different kind of algorithm additions to it. Is it possible?
You can't do that in Watson Analytics, but for those kind of more advanced features, you'll definitely want to look at SPSS because that's more for the data scientists and the analysts. This is a tool that's for everybody. Maybe some people don't have all the time or the skills to do all that work in SPSS. You'll just quickly do it here in Watson Analytics. Yep.
Do you support interfacing with external chart types?
No, it's our own RAVE map engine that we have for our different charts, etc. So we have our own specific charts. You can't be exporting or putting different libraries in, etc. Yep.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to mention, to me, as I'm seeing this, I was fooling with this last night before, and it's very powerful what you have here and what you're trying to target. I'm just going to, what's the biggest sort of data that you can upload in this tool right now in terms of file size?
Yeah. So for that, I'll just show you something here very quickly. We have 3 different versions for Watson Analytics. We have a free version, a personal version, and professional.
Right.
So the limitations are going to be file size. So for the professional version, in a file size, it can be 100 GB total.
Wow.
You can have 500 columns, 10 million rows as your limitation.
Yeah. And you're looking at your free is about 500 meg.
Yeah, you're in the free version. You have 50 columns, 100K rows. This is great if you want to just try out the tool, play around with it. You'll still have all the functionality in the tool, but it's just the data size will be shorter.
Yeah. I'm just saying as a comment, that's a pretty good data set to be able to look at it, to see the value of it, in my mind, when I'm looking at it. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And this is all in US pricing, by the way.
Sure.
Which is probably about $1,000 Canadian, but that's fine. Yeah.
Is there a local or maybe a trimmed down version that the company can take for local deployment, or do we have to go with IBM Cloud?
There's no on-premise solution as of today. Yep.
I remember I heard you mention that the data uploaded cannot be unloaded. Is that correct?
Yeah, so if you upload a data set, you're not going to be able to extract it back out in Excel format today. That will come in the future. Again, this is an agile tool. It's only been out in market for about a year and 2 months. There's not going to be any specific release version. There's no Watson Analytics 1, 1.1, etc. As soon as a new feature is developed and tested, it's going to immediately be available. So look for that near the end of the year. We'll have those capabilities.
But wouldn't that be become be available at the very beginning? Because
Sorry,
it
could you
will-
speak up a little? I'm having a hard time
Okay,
hearing.
why wouldn't put this unload functionality be available at the very beginning? Because it's, the privacy is everything. It's the most important for business customers, right?
Yeah.
So I uploaded the data, and I don't know how the internal works. It will be like you said, you can access even other database, other cloud services, and the data, we don't know where it goes, and I'm worried.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. I'm sure somebody has an answer on the product development team. That's something I cannot answer right now, but if you want to follow up later, we can definitely get you in contact with somebody in product dev and get that question answered. Yep.
When we upload the data, we want to make sure the data already be accurate, right?
We want the data to be structured format because this is the best format that Watson ingests data. So if you have unstructured data, you have, like for example, let's go back here. This is typically what we want data to look like. Rectangular format, table view. We don't want additional columns with titles at the top, etc. We only want the strict column headers and the data. And data should look like